Admiral Kivas Torrance stood at the viewport of the HSS Defiance, watching as the last human ships departed Galactic Council space. His weathered face, marked with scars from a dozen wars, remained impassive despite the turmoil within. The final ultimatum had been delivered 3 standard cycles ago. Humanity was no longer welcome in the Grand Galactic Alliance. "Status report," he demanded, not turning from the star-speckled void. Commander Alara Vestri approached, her augmented eyes glowing faintly in the dim bridge lighting. "All vessels accounted for, Admiral. The exodus is complete. 417 ships carrying the remaining human diplomatic corps, research teams, and civilian populations from 37 worlds. And the message from the Council?" Alara's jaw tightened. "They've revoked all transit permits through their spatial corridors, effective immediately. They've classified us as a destabilizing element unfit for civilized space." A bitter laugh escaped Torrance's lips. 2 centuries of serving as their shock troops against the Void Scourge, and this is our reward. The truth was brutal but simple. Humanity had been useful when the Alliance needed warriors willing to face horrors that made even the militaristic Drakkar hesitate. But now, with the Void Scourge contained, humanity's reputation for unpredictability and their rapid technological advancement had become threatening rather than valuable. Fleet Intelligence Officer May Okafor joined them, her expression grim. The Galactic Council's final communication included their rationale. They claim our inherent unpredictability and alarming cognitive patterns make us incompatible with galactic society. "They fear what they cannot control," Torrance replied, finally turning from the viewport. The bridge crew worked diligently, but he could see the hurt and anger in their posture. "What about Project Archimedes?" May's expression shifted, a dangerous gleam appearing in her eyes. "Fully operational, sir. Director Rawl sent confirmation from Luna Base. The Council believes we're retreating to Sol System to lick our wounds." "They have no idea what we've been preparing," Ilera added, a smile finally breaking through her professional demeanor. Torrance nodded, walking to the command chair and activating the fleet-wide communication system. His voice would reach every human vessel making the long journey home. "To all ships of the Human Expeditionary Force and Civilian Fleet, this is Admiral Torrance. The Galactic Alliance has made their decision. They've deemed us too dangerous, too unpredictable to remain among their precious order." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "They're right." The bridge crew exchanged knowing glances. For 2 centuries, we fought their wars, traded our resources, shared our innovations, only to be cast aside when our usefulness ended. "They've made their choice. Now we make ours." His voice hardened with resolve. "Set course for Sol. It's time to initiate Project Archimedes." As the fleet aligned for synchronized FTL jump, Torrance gazed one last time at the glittering expanse of Galactic Alliance space. They thought they were punishing humanity with exile. They had no idea they were setting them free. "Jump," he commanded. 417 human vessels vanished into the void, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. The galaxy had thrown humanity out, but humanity would make the break permanent on their own terms. On Luna Base, Director Annika Rawl stood before the massive holographic display showing the approaching human fleet. After 5 weeks of travel through territories where they were now unwelcome, the Exodus vessels would reach Sol System within hours. "Power levels?" she asked, her artificial hand adjusting parameters on the projection. Chief Engineer Domari Voss consulted his neural interface. "Singularity containment at optimal levels. All 7-fold generators are synchronized and ready. We've never attempted anything of this magnitude, Director." "Neither had we attempted faster-than-light travel before." "The necessity arose," she replied coolly. "The Alliance may have provided us the foundational physics, but Project Archimedes is entirely human innovation." The vast chamber housed the nerve center of humanity's most ambitious technological endeavor. For decades, while serving as the Alliance's warriors and explorers, human scientists had been quietly developing technology beyond anything their allies had imagined possible. Admiral Torrance's hologram appeared beside Rawl. "The fleet will break into Sol space in 40 minutes. The Alliance hasn't pursued us, but we've detected long-range probes. They're monitoring our retreat." "Let them watch," Rawl said. "It will be their last glimpse of humanity." The massive engineering bay beneath them hummed with energy as technicians made final adjustments to technology that would forever change humanity's place in the universe. Project Archimedes wasn't merely a defensive measure. It was evolution. "The Council believes they understand us," Rawl continued, watching as the first vessels began appearing at the edge of the system. "They analyzed our history, our conflicts, our literature, and concluded we were too volatile for their precious stability." "Their fundamental mistake," Torrance replied, "was believing that our adaptability was a flaw rather than our greatest strength." As the human fleet assembled in a precise formation around the Sol system, billions watched from planetary surfaces and habitat stations. The entire human population, nearly 40 billion souls across the Sol system's planets, moons, and habitats, had been preparing for this moment since the Council's declaration. "Begin the fold sequence," Rawl commanded. 7 massive generators, constructed in secret during humanity's alliance with the galactic powers, activated simultaneously. The quantum field they generated began to envelop the entire Sol system: planets, moons, stations, and the returning fleet. On the Galactic Council's monitoring stations, alarms blared as their sensors detected an unprecedented energy signature emerging from the human home system. "What are they doing?" demanded High Counselor Valir of the Etheri Dominion, watching as the readings exceeded anything in their technological database. The answer came too late for any response. In a brilliant flash that temporarily blinded even their advanced sensors, the entire Sol system, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and all its celestial neighbors, along with every human construct and vessel, simply vanished from normal space. Project Archimedes had succeeded. Humanity had folded their entire star system into a pocket dimension of their own creation. The galaxy had exiled humanity. Humanity had exiled the galaxy in return. Part 3. The New Frontier. 5 years after the Great Fold, Captain Lyrell Novak stood on the observation deck of the exploration vessel Curiosity as it approached the dimensional boundary. From this side, humanity's side, the barrier appeared as a shimmering aurora stretching infinitely in all directions, containing their pocket universe. "Recording active, Captain," said her first officer, Ikene Okoro. "This will be our 14th successful breach point." Lyrell nodded, watching as their specialized vessel approached the dimensional membrane. "Any sign of Council vessels on the other side?" "Negative. Their patrols have decreased significantly over the past year. They've likely concluded our experiment. Failed catastrophically." A grim smile touched Lyrell's lips. The Galactic Council believed humanity had destroyed themselves in some desperate technological gambit. The truth was far more remarkable. The Great Fold hadn't merely hidden humanity. It had given them freedom beyond imagination. Within their pocket dimension, the laws of physics could be subtly manipulated. Space could be compressed or expanded. Energy generation reached efficiencies impossible in normal space. "Breach in 3 minutes, Ikene announced. "Director Rawl is monitoring from Luna Base." The Curiosity slipped through the dimensional boundary like a needle through fabric, emerging into normal space at coordinates that would have been beyond Pluto's orbit in the original Sol system. Stars spread out before them, the galaxy they had left behind. "Dimensional anchor stable," reported Science Officer Kenzo Fujita. We can maintain this breach for 72 hours before needing to return. These expeditions had become routine, but remained classified at the highest level. Only a handful of specialized vessels were permitted to cross the boundary, mapping the galaxy outside their bubble universe and collecting intelligence on their former allies. "Begin standard collection protocols," Lyrell ordered, "and prepare the navigation buoy." These unassuming devices, left at each breach point, were humanity's eyes and ears, transmitting data back to Sol while remaining virtually undetectable to Alliance sensors. As the crew worked, Lyrell reviewed the reports from other breach teams. The picture they were assembling was fascinating. Without humanity to serve as their military backbone, the Alliance was struggling against resurgent threats. The Void Scourge, thought contained, had breached Alliance space in 3 sectors. Political fractures were forming among the member. "Species! Captain!" Kenzo called, excitement in his voice. "We're detecting an approaching vessel, but it's not Alliance design." A ship of unfamiliar configuration was approaching their position at remarkable speed. It didn't match any known Alliance species. "Defensive posture," Lyrell ordered calmly, "but keep weapons powered down." The vessel slowed as it approached. Its design unlike anything in their database. A communication request pinged their systems. "They're using an outdated human communication protocol," Aken said, bewildered. "From before first contact." Lyrell straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The view screen activated, revealing a distinctly non-human face. The being had iridescent scales and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, but its expression was unmistakably excited. At last, it spoke in accented but clear English. "We have found you, the exiled ones, the dimensional folders. We are the Rescari, and we have been searching for you since you vanished." "For what purpose?" Lyrell asked cautiously. "To propose an alliance," the alien replied. "One built on mutual respect, not convenience. The galaxy is changing, human captain, and many of us have awaited your return." High Commander Zeven Ash strode through the dimensional breach station, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the artificial lights. Around him, representatives from 7 non-alliance species waited nervously for the breach to stabilize. After months of careful diplomacy conducted through the Curiosity and other explorer vessels, the first official delegation would enter humanity's pocket universe. "Breach stabilizing," announced technician Farida Nassar. "Dimensional integrity at 100%. Ziven nodded, his face betraying none of the apprehension he felt. In the 5 years since the Great Fold, humanity had transformed itself. Cities on Earth and Mars had been rebuilt using dimensional engineering, creating impossible architectures. Luna had become a massive research hub, while the outer system housed shipyards producing vessels with capabilities that would have seemed magical to their former allies. The dimensional gateway shimmered, and then the delegation stepped through. Representatives of the Rescari, Talasi, Zovarians, and 4 other species who had broken from the Galactic Alliance after humanity's departure. Tevik, the Rescari ambassador, approached with arms held wide in their species' gesture of peaceful intent. "The stories we have heard do not do this achievement justice," he said, his 4 eyes taking in the massive station. "Your people have accomplished the impossible." "Necessity breeds innovation," Zeven replied diplomatically. "Welcome to New Sol." The tour that followed was calculated to impress. The delegation was shown the dimensional mechanics laboratories, where physics itself was being rewritten, the fleet yards, where ships incorporating the new science were being constructed, and finally, Earth itself, transformed by humanity's newfound mastery of dimensional engineering. "Your people were cast out because the Council feared your potential," said Alara, the feline Talasi representative, as they stood in a garden where plants from a dozen worlds grew in dimensional pockets with their native environments. "They were right to fear, but wrong to exile. Zevin led them to the meeting chamber where the conclave, humanity's new governing body, awaited. Director Rahl, now president of the conclave, greeted the delegation personally. "You have not come merely to witness our achievements," she stated plainly. "Speak your purpose." Tevik stepped forward. "The alliance fractures. The void scourge returns. We propose a new coalition, one founded on mutual respect and shared advancement. Your dimensional technology paired with our resources and knowledge of alliance weaknesses." "You're proposing war," Zevin observed. "We are proposing survival," corrected Elira. "The alliance races believed they could continue without the warrior spirit of humanity. They were wrong. The void consumes 2 systems each cycle now." President Rahl studied the alien delegation carefully. "We left to forge our own destiny, not to fight others' wars again. Not as servants this time," Tevik said urgently. "As equals, as leaders." The conclave debated for 3 days while the delegation waited. Humanity had thrived in isolation, but isolation had never been their natural state. The dimensional technology had been developed not just for protection, but for expansion on humanity's terms. On the 4th day, Zevin escorted the delegation back to the meeting chamber where Rahl delivered humanity's answer. "We will form this coalition," she announced, "not to wage war, but to offer sanctuary. We will open our dimensional technology to your people, create fold spaces for your worlds, as we did for Sol. The Alliance cast us out because they feared our unpredictability. We will show the galaxy a different path, selective dimensional isolation paired with strategic alliance." Tevik's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "You offer to fold our home worlds as you did your own?" "The void cannot consume what it cannot reach," Rahl replied simply. "This is our counter-proposal." As the delegates absorbed the implications, Zevin allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had thrown humanity away. Now, humanity would reshape the galaxy, one dimensional fold at a time. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the massive holographic display showed the impossible. Another complete star system vanishing from normal space. The Talassi homeworld and its entire stellar neighborhood had just disappeared in a flash of dimensional energy. "That's the 5th system this cycle," High Counselor Valir said, his normally composed features showing strain. "The Zovarian, Reskari, Talassi, Juvari, and now the Omadrian systems. All gone." Admiral Thosen of the Alliance Defense Force pounded his appendage on the table. "It must be connected to the human disappearance 7 years ago. The energy signatures are identical." "Impossible," argued Counselor Selmerix of the Ferrani Enclave. "Humans were primitive by our standards. They couldn't possibly have developed dimensional folding technology. Even our theoretical physicists consider it beyond current scientific reach." The chamber doors parted, and a junior aide rushed in, protocol forgotten in their haste. "Counselors," they gasped. "A vessel has appeared in orbit around the conclave station. It's human." Pandemonium erupted until Valir's amplified voice cut through the chaos. "Verify this claim immediately." Within minutes, the chamber's display shifted to show a sleek vessel unlike any human ship previously documented. It hung in space before the Alliance's most important diplomatic station, making no aggressive moves, but yielding to no demands to depart. "They're transmitting a message," the communications officer announced. The face that appeared on the council display was human, but the backdrop behind her was like nothing they had ever seen. Architecture that seemed to bend space itself. "I am Ambassador Kavita Rangarajan of the Terran Conclave and the Dimensional Coalition," she announced without preamble. "After 7 years of exile imposed by this council, I return as representative of not just humanity, but 7 former Alliance member species who have joined our coalition." Stunned silence gripped the chamber. The star systems you've observed vanishing have not been destroyed, she continued. They have been folded into dimensional pockets beyond your reach, and more importantly, beyond the reach of the void, scourge that now threatens your borders. This is impossible, Selmerix whispered. Ambassador Rangarajan smiled thinly. Your limited understanding of dimensional physics led you to that incorrect conclusion once before, when you believed our departure from normal space was our extinction. You were wrong then. You are wrong now. She gestured, and the view widened, to show a massive installation behind her vessel, a dimensional gateway large enough for capital ships to pass through. I have been authorized to extend a conditional offer to the Alliance races currently under imminent threat from the Void Scourge. The Coalition will provide dimensional sanctuary to civilian populations of systems in the Scourge's path. You would have us abandon our territories and flee to your pocket dimensions? Admiral Thosen asked incredulously. The alternative is extinction, Rangarajan replied evenly. The Void Scourge has evolved beyond your containment measures. Our intelligence suggests you have perhaps 2 cycles before your core worlds are compromised. Counselor Valier leaned forward. And what do you demand in exchange for this sanctuary? Acknowledgement, the human ambassador said simply. Formal recognition that your judgment of humanity was in error, a public apology for the exile you imposed, and reparations to be paid in knowledge and resources, not to humans, but to the species you marginalized while we were your allies. Extortion, hissed Thosen. Justice, countered Rangarajan. You cast us out because you feared what we might become. Now you face extinction because of what we are no longer here to help you fight. She stood straighter, her expression resolute. You have 1 standard cycle to consider our offer. After that, we will complete the evacuation of our coalition partners and seal the dimensional boundaries permanently. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Could they truly have mastered dimensional folding? Selmerix wondered aloud. Valier stared at the empty display. They have not only mastered it, they have weaponized our greatest mistake. Grand Admiral Calix Torrance, son of the legendary Admiral Kivas Torrance who had led humanity's exit from Alliance space, stood aboard the command deck of the HSS Reckoning. Before him stretched the largest assembled fleet in human history. 5,000 vessels of the Dimensional Coalition, their designs as varied as the species that had joined humanity's cause. The Council delegation approaches, Admiral, reported his second-in-command, Commodore Nadira Ekval, a Talassi whose people had been among the first to join the coalition. On screen, Calix ordered. The diplomatic vessel bearing the Galactic Council representatives appeared small against the backdrop of the coalition armada. After weeks of tense negotiations, the Council had finally agreed to send their highest representatives to the dimensional fold boundary, the edge of what they now called coalition space. Honor Guard assembled in the reception bay, Nadira confirmed. President Okafor awaits your escort. Calix nodded. May Okafor, once a fleet intelligence officer who had stood beside his father at humanity's darkest hour, now led the coalition as its 3rd president. The symbolism of her presence would not be lost on the council delegates. The reception that followed was deliberately austere. No grand chambers or ornate decorations, just the simple, impossible architecture of dimensional engineering that allowed corridors to extend infinitely while occupying finite space. High Counselor Valier led the Alliance delegation, flanked by representatives of 17 member species. Many looked around in poorly concealed awe at the dimensional manipulation evident in every aspect of the station. Welcome to Nexus Station, President Okafor said, without ceremony. The boundary point between normal space and what you call coalition space. We have reviewed your terms, Valier replied stiffly. They are difficult for many of our members to accept. More difficult than extinction? Calix asked pointedly. The Alliance delegation shifted uncomfortably. Reports confirmed what the coalition had already known. The Void Scourge had breached the Alliance's third defensive perimeter. 3 major worlds had already been lost. We cannot simply abandon millennia of civilization, argued a Drakari representative. Our ancestral worlds will be consumed regardless, Okafor interrupted. Our offer is not to save your territories, but your people, your knowledge, your cultures, your future. She gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the vast dimensional fold that separated coalition space from normal space, a shimmering curtain of energy that stretched beyond comprehension. 15 years ago, you deemed humanity too unpredictable, too dangerous for your ordered society, Okafor continued. You were partially correct. We are unpredictable. It's how we survived before the stars and how we'll survive after them. The void doesn't think, it doesn't adapt, it consumes. You need beings who thrive on unpredictability to fight it. Valir's composure finally broke. You ask us to submit to human authority after governing the galaxy for 30,000 years. No, Calyx corrected firmly. We ask you to join a coalition of equals, species united not by conformity but complementary strengths. Humanity doesn't lead the coalition alone. We simply founded it. Okafor nodded to a technician, and a new hologram appeared. Data projections, showing the Void Scourge's advance toward Alliance core worlds. You have 48 hours to make your decision, she said. We have prepared dimensional anchors for 63 inhabited systems. We cannot save them all. Your delay has cost too many already. But we can save your civilization, if not, your pride. As the Alliance delegation withdrew to consider their options, Calyx stood beside Okafor at the viewport, watching the coalition fleet standing ready. My father always believed this day would come, he said quietly. When they would be forced to acknowledge their mistake. Kivas was a visionary, Okafor agreed. But even he couldn't have predicted the coalition, that our exile would lead to the greatest alliance the galaxy has ever known. Beyond the dimensional barrier, sensors detected the approaching tendrils of the Void Scourge, darkness between the stars that consumed all it touched. The Alliance had hours, not days, before their remaining defenses failed. They'll accept, Nadira predicted, joining them. They have no choice. They always had a choice, Okafor corrected gently. As did we when they cast us out. We chose to thrive rather than merely survive. We chose to innovate rather than stagnate. And when others reached out, we chose to aid rather than abandon. The communication system chimed. The Alliance delegation was returning, hours ahead of schedule. When High Counselor Valir entered the chamber again, his proud bearing was gone. In its place was something humanity had never seen from the Alliance leadership: humility. On behalf of the Galactic Council and all Alliance species, he began formally, I acknowledge our gravest error. Humanity's exile was not just a mistake. It was our undoing. We offer our unconditional apology and accept all terms for sanctuary within coalition space. Calyx exchanged glances with Okafor, seeing in her eyes what he felt, not triumph, but solemn validation. Begin evacuation procedures, Okafor ordered. Priority to civilian populations and cultural repositories. As the massive coalition fleet moved to implement the largest rescue operation in galactic history, Calyx found himself thinking of his father's final words before passing, whispered from his deathbed 10 years earlier. They threw us out of their galaxy, son. We made the break permanent. But true strength isn't found in isolation. It's found in offering others what was once denied to you. The galaxy had rejected humanity. Humanity had transcended the galaxy, and in doing so, they would save it. Not as conquerors, but as guides to a new dimensional frontier where even the Void Scourge could not follow. The break had indeed been made permanent, but not in the way anyone, human or alien, could have imagined.